Hey guys, I'm Fancy, and this is Murder by Design. Alrighty, guys, so we are back with another true crime tidbit for Wednesday. And today I am going to be talking about one of the biggest serial killers around. I mean, he's pretty well known. People talk about him a lot, and it's BTK, Bond Torture Kill. And that is Dennis Rader. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And we actually are doing something more with him on Friday night, and I will tell you what it is. And I forgot to turn over my 15 minutes. There we go. Alrighty, so let's get into him. So Dennis Rader was known to be a family man. He was devoted to his wife, Paula, and their two children. And one of his daughters has actually spoken out and done a whole piece, and I think she wrote a book and everything, so which is really interesting. Hey, Rebel, how are you? He was known as a loyal worker and an upstanding member of his church. But to all of us, he's known as the BTK killer, and he's a killer of at least 10 people. So Dennis Rader was born in 1945 in Pittsburgh, Kansas, and grew up in Wichita. Now, my mom is from that area as well. She was born in Salina. I don't remember how she says it, but yeah, anyway, Kansas. He had 3 younger brothers, and from outside appearances, it was a normal, happy childhood, but there are allegations that young Dennis did some disturbing things like hanging and killing stray animals, which, you know, is something that we see in the serial killer cases all the time. It's an indicator if they start off with you know, oh, Jesus, I forgot to put my mic down. Can you guys even hear me? Holy crud. I hope you guys could hear me. I didn't even put it down. Now you can probably hear me better. Anyway, that's a very, you know, telling tale of serial killers. They tend to do things like that of harming animals when they're young. But in the 1960s, Rader joined the U.S. Air Force, and in 1971, he married his wife, Paula. In 1974, he got a job with ADT Security Services. Dennis and Paula welcomed a son in 1975, the year I was born, and a daughter in 1978. They had a happy marriage. Dennis was a good husband and father. And in 1979, Dennis graduated from Wichita State University with a degree in Administration of Justice. Hey, Runs with Scissors. You know, I find it really interesting about how many of these serial killers have an interest in, you know, in I'm sorry, can't think, in law enforcement and, you know, those things. Like, I really it's really interesting to me that they, you know, that's something that they all kind of go and head towards. You know, Ted Bundy wanted to be a lawyer, and Dahmer was in the military. Golden State Killer was a police officer, and, you know, Rader got a degree in administrative justice. It's very interesting to me. Hey, Stella, how are you? So, between the years of 1974 to 1991, while living his double life, Rader murdered 10 people that we know of in the Wichita, Kansas area. On January 15th, 1974, 4 members of the Otero family were strangled to death in their home in Wichita, Kansas. Joseph and Julie Otero and 2 of their children, Josephine and Joseph Jr., were found by their 15-year-old son, Charlie, when he came home from school. The killer took only a watch and a radio from the home, but left his DNA at the scene in the form of semen. On April 4th, 1974, Catherine Bright, 21, returned home, and Rader was waiting in her apartment. He stabbed her and strangled her to death, and her brother Kevin was with her, and he was shot twice by Rader, but he survived and would later describe the BT killer as an average-sized guy, bushy mustache, and psychotic eyes. On October 1974, Dennis Rader contacted the media and led them to a letter he had written and put in a library book to prove that he was the one responsible for the murders. The letter said things like, "It's hard to control myself. You'll probably call me psychotic with sexual perversion hang-up." In this letter, he let them know that he wasn't done killing. He wrote, "The code words for me will be bind them, torture them, kill them. BTK. After that, Rader was known as the BTK killer, or just BTK. In March 1977, a woman named Shirley Vian, 24, was bound and strangled to death by Rader. He posed as a detective to get inside the house, and while holding a gun on Vian's 3 kids, he ordered them to go into the bathroom and locked them inside. He calmed Shirley down by giving her a glass of water and smoking a cigarette with her. I don't know why it keeps flashing. I really don't know. I don't know what its problem is. It does this every once in a while. I really don't know why. Let me see if my connection is just, let me make sure it's all plugged in real well. Okay. Maybe that'll be better. Okay. So he gave her a glass of water and he smoked a cigarette with her. Then Rader tied her up and choked her to death by putting a cord around her neck. He left semen on her panties. In December 1977, Rader waited in the house of Nancy Fox, 25, and he tied her up. And as he was strangling her to death with his belt, he told her who he was and about the murders he committed. He called the police to report the murder while he was on his way to work the next morning. And her body was found with his semen on her nightgown that was found next to her. In January 1978, yeah, what Booker class did they take? Yeah, right. In January 1978, BTK sent a sarcastic poem to a local newspaper about the murder of Shirley Vian. A local TV station received a letter from BTK a few weeks later. In the letter, he took responsibility for the murders of Shirley Vian, Nancy Fox, and the other victims he also referred to as... He also referred to serial killers, Ted Bundy and David Berkowitz in the letter. And then BTK continued to taunt the police and the media, and nobody knew when he would murder again. In April 1979, an elderly woman received a letter from BTK. In the letter, he said that he had been waiting for her in her home while she was out, but he left just before she came back. He just wanted this woman to know that he had been there waiting for her. Around this time, the police released the recording from 1977 when BTK had called the police to report that he had murdered Nancy Fox. They hoped that his voice would be recognized by someone listening. In 1985, the body of Rader's neighbor, 53-year-old Maureen Hedge, was found on the side of the road after being strangled to death by Rader in her home on April 27th. He put her body into the trunk of her car, brought her to the basement of his church, took pictures of the body, and then dumped her body in a ditch along the road. On September 16, 1986, Rader knocked on Vicki Wegler's door, pretending that he was there to fix her phone lines. The 28-year-old let him in, and he forced her into the bedroom at gunpoint and choked her to death with a rope. He took photos of the body in different positions and then stole the family's car. Wow. BTK's 10th and last known victim, Dolores Davies, was 62 years old on January 19, 1991. He tied her up in her bedroom and strangled her to death. He took the body and put her in the trunk of her car. He hid the body by a lake near Park City, drove the car back and left it at the Davies house, and finally moved the body again, leaving it under a bridge in Sedgwick County. After 1991, the BTK killer seemed to disappear, but in reality, Dennis Rader was always there, just living his best life. He had become a Boy Scout troop leader and was very active in the church as president of the church council. He had started a new career as a compliance supervisor for Park City in 1991 and was known to enjoy the little bit of authority his position gave him in the community. What a little sick fuck. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm physically sick too, Stella. This is disgusting. 2004 marked the 38-year anniversary of the first BTK murders, and with that came some coverage in the media. Never one to shy away from attention, Rader couldn't resist taunting the authorities, and once again, BTK was back. He sent letters to the local media outlets and left packages of clues to be found. They were filled with information about the murders, souvenirs he had taken from his victim, pictures of various other items, including a computer disk. Metadata from the computer disk led authorities to the name of Rader's church and username of Dennis. They found Dennis Rader to be the president of the church council. Authorities were given a sample of Rader's daughter's DNA under a court order. That DNA sample was a familia match to the DNA that was left at the crime scenes. Dennis Rader was able to get away with murder for a long time, and he enjoyed leaving clues and brazenly taunting the police. and the media. But on February 25th, 2005, Rader's game was officially over. He was arrested and charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder. Rader pled guilty to all charges on June 27, 2005. He had to give the details of all his crimes in court. He gave those details with absolutely no remorse, no emotion. Since Rader's crimes were committed before Kansas reinstated the death penalty in 1994, he was given 10 life sentences. He's serving his time in El Dorado Correctional Facility. And this Friday, we are going to have the pleasure of speaking with forensic psychiatrist professor and author Katherine Ramsland. She has written a book about the confession of a serial killer, the untold story of Dennis Rader, the BTK killer. She actually got to work directly with him for a very long time. She's written like 60 other books, I swear to you. But she worked with him a long time. It's one of her most famous cases, that she followed and worked with. So we're going to get to have her on our live on YouTube, Murder by Design, on Friday night at 8 p.m. So you guys want to check in for that, because I'm super excited to have her on to talk about this case. It's a case that I know of, but I don't know as much as I would like to. Also over on madgingerentertainment.com, Christina, if you're on here, if you could throw that up in the chat, I'd appreciate it. The link to our blogs. But Christina wrote a lengthier blog post about Dennis so that you can get some more information before Friday night when we do the live with Katherine. And her book revealed that Rader had planned to murder an 11th victim before his arrest. So, guys, yeah, his daughter wrote a book. Yeah, Diane, I know. I've actually watched her be interviewed too, and she's incredible. Absolutely incredible. But yeah. So guys, do you have any questions about this that I can answer? I'd love to get some questions to take back to Katherine. So if you guys have something like that, that would be really amazing. I'd love to have that, pause. And I'd love to, have some questions for her that we can ask her, because I'm sure she would love that. I'm just really excited about talking with her. She's a new guest that we're having. She's not someone that we've had before. So yeah, the blog post for BTK should be, it's up today. Sometime today it should be up. Yeah, I watched the 2020 special on her too, Diane. It was really good. That poor girl, but she's so, I don't know. She's great. Like, she has a really good perspective on it, and I think she's done a really great job of dealing with it. So it's you always think about the families, like what we saw with the Golden State Killer right now. I really had a problem with the fact that the families were speaking out on his behalf and telling the courts what a great guy he was. I really felt that was, kind of a slight at the victims. I understand that maybe he was a different guy than what he did to his victims at home. And he may have been a great father, humanitarian, whatever you want to say about him. But he killed, in the case of the Golden State Killer, he killed, lots and lots of people, raped hundreds of girls, and it's just, I just can't understand, these family members that are talking out in court. If my husband, father, whatever, did these horrible, awful things, I would be so mortified. There is absolutely no way that I would ever think of speaking out on his behalf and telling people what a great guy he was. I just wouldn't. I don't think that it's wrong to share their story of, the facts in a book. That would be fine. But to actually do it in court, like to send letters to the court to read after the victim's impact statements, I found that to be really super, super disrespectful. I don't know. Yeah, I know. Right. Exactly. If it was my son, I understand. I understand that you can still love your child and not like the things that they did and hate that part of them, and maybe you still support them. But I would definitely think that you wouldn't be like out in the public eye just talking how great a guy he was. Oh, well, he was the most wonderful son. Oh, it just makes me absolutely insane. Yes, I would definitely turn them in. There's no way that I'm not going to. I would want to stop it, not just for the victims, but for for him too, you know, the person that's killing or the girl, whatever, I would want to stop it for that as well, because, you know, that would just seem like to save people's lives, you know, and it would be taking him off the street. So taking him out of the obsession, because it's very much an obsession that they compulsively can't stop. But if they're put in a situation where they can't do it, then they're forced to, you know, and sometimes, you know, it's better for that person. Like Ed Kemper, you know, he's been a model prisoner, and he turned himself in, you know. So, all right, guys. Well, anyway, tune in tomorrow night on Murder by Design at 8 p.m. and we'll have Catherine Ramsland on, and you guys can ask her some questions. Don't forget that, or no, I'm sorry, today is Wednesday. So tune in Friday night, and the blog will be up tomorrow. I was thinking today was Thursday. The blog will be up tomorrow, and the interview will be Friday. Gosh, I swear to God, with this pandemic, guys, my days all just run together. Remember that today is Wicked Wednesday, and our second episode of our head-to-head between me and Colleen has dropped. Today's episode is Colleen's side of things, trying to explain why he's not guilty. He's totally guilty, but she thinks he's not guilty, but he is. Anyway, but yeah, so you guys go on over to, you know, our website again, madgingerentertainment.com, and under True Crime, it's podcasts, and you can get it right there, or you can find us on any of your favorite podcast players. So have a good one from The Good Wives, serving up one dish at a time.